Sachidanandam.
Vande Ramam 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 Sachidanandam. Vande Ramam Sachidanandam. सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः
Welcome to Satsang. Does this... Yeah, let's take a moment and just make sure that all of our mobiles are switched off or on silent. Does the soul leave the body because the heart stops functioning? Or does the heart cease functioning because the soul has departed from the body? So, the soul is not that which operates the machinery. If you look at the way that the way that a human body works, it's this extraordinary, exquisite, intersecting, interacting, ever able to respond to each moment. And this is God's divine creation. You put in food, even junk food. You know, you put mud in your car, it just doesn't go. But you put junk food into this body, and amazingly, even though it's not what it's supposed to eat, in many cases it doesn't even resemble what we think of as food. It's chemicals, it's artificial colors, it's artificial flavors, it's this, it's that. I mean, nothing that even mildly resembles what you think of as food, like something that comes out of the earth. Nonetheless, these miraculous bodies digest it, break it down, excrete it out the other side. I mean, it's extraordinary. Neither we have to understand it, nor we have to know how to do it. But that's not the working of the soul. So it's not that the heart stops beating because the soul has left. It's not that the soul is that which keeps the heart beating. Here's a way to think about it. Take the eye. Well, what enables my eye to see? On a neurologic level, we can give all the explanations of the rods and the cones and the retina and the cornea and all of the neurons and the optic nerve and the occipital lobe of the brain. I mean, we could give you the whole neural network from light coming in to being able to say, ah, dog, or oh, my cousin, or oh, house, whatever it is that we are, or oh, moving tennis player, whatever it is. The eye is capable of doing that. However, who is the one who is aware of what I'm seeing? Who is the one who is aware that seeing is taking place? That starts to begin to touch what we talk about when we speak of as soul. But the soul is actually, even you could say, another step back or 2 steps back. So there's an aspect of our consciousness that is simply aware of itself. Now I'm seeing. My eyes are open, my eyes are closed. It's awareness. But you go a step back. Who's aware that I'm aware? Who's able to watch the one who knows I'm seeing? And then you go a step back, and it's hard to get when you're not actually in a meditative state. But I think you'll be able to grasp it. So stage 1 is just seeing. Light is reflecting, refracting off my retina, being transmitted back into the occipital lobe of my brain. Gives me a picture. Dog, house, running tennis player. That's my brilliant brain and how it works. Higher level functioning, you could call it. Not the soul, but brilliant highest level functioning and highest level perception. Then my consciousness is aware that I am seeing. There's a part of me that isn't just the seer. There's a part of me that is aware and conscious that seeing is taking place. And so, for example, if our best friend steals a chocolate bar at the store and the manager of the store says, "Did he steal that chocolate bar?" And we say, "I didn't see anything." When we did, there is a part of us that is aware that we saw and we are telling a fib. That's what you could speak about as our consciousness, our awareness. But then there's a layer deeper that's watching me. Watching me know that I saw what he took. Watching me make the decision to tell a fib about it. That passes no judgment. That isn't stressed or worried. That simply is aware. That state of pure awareness that isn't attached. Oh no, the police are going to get me. Oh no, I'm going to end up in jail with this guy. Oh no, my mother's going to kill me. Oh no, whatever it may be. That's the emotional mind. The soul is just pure awareness. And that's why when we meditate and we touch that place of pure awareness, it's so exquisite and it's so important, because only through touching that place of expanded consciousness and expanded awareness do we have the possibility of experiencing the soul. And so at the end of life, the soul departs the body. The body stops. It's not that the body stops functioning because the soul has left, but the soul is that, which is that spark of life, but not the chemical or electric spark of life, but that which from 2 steps back is making there be spark of life. So for example, we can create so much in a petri dish these days. Scientifically, we know everything. And yet, interestingly, we cannot create life. Forget even human life. We can't create a mosquito. We can't create a leaf that's actually alive. We cannot create life. And that doesn't mean that life is the soul and that the heart relies on the soul to beat. No. But without the soul, there isn't, you can say, the impetus for life. The soul is that which catalyzes, however this extraordinary creation works. The presence of the soul entering the body is that which catalyzes that whole creation for life. Because that's why we have bodies. It's not that there's just lots of bodies and souls wandering and sometimes they find one, like lots of hotels with empty rooms and some travelers and maybe they choose this one and maybe they choose that one. It's not like that. The hotels exist anyway, regardless of whether there's travelers on the road. But bodies exist because the souls need to utilize a body in order to work out their particular karmic piece. Now that's on one level. I'm going to take you a little bit deeper for a moment. On that level, we talk about individual souls, what we call Jiv Atma, my soul, which is different than your soul. Connected, one as love, as spirit, but nonetheless, your soul has a karmic package. My soul has a karmic package. Each of our souls is carrying with it what you can think of as a karmic bank account. Pluses, minuses, a whole package from my previous births, my astrological horoscope, I mean, all of the different things that go into that karmic package. Well, I need a body, that Jivatma needs a body that is going to be the most conducive for me to work out that karmic package. And so, not just even a physical body, but a specific family of origin, a specific experience, specific skills and challenges. And so the bodies exist because the soul needs to use it. It would be like if hotel rooms simply popped up every time there were a traveler on the road who needed a place to stop, rather than just sitting there empty, waiting for people. And so that relationship between the soul and the body is essential and intricate. But it's not that the soul is running the body. It's just that when the soul leaves the body, there's no longer any necessity for the body to be going. Because remember, everything we do, every karma we are engaged in, means every action we're engaged in, has a karmic fruit. If the soul has left the body, to whom does that karmic fruit belong? Who's the one who's going to carry that karmic fruit into their next birth? Once the soul leaves the body, who's accruing karma then? There's no one left. And so for that reason, as the souls leave the body ceases to function. However, on a deeper level, other than just the Jivatma, which is my individual soul, your individual soul, your individual soul, on the highest, truest level, there's actually nothing but soul. Meaning, there's not my soul and your soul. There's just soul. And each of these bodies, each of these lives is a different reflection of it. There's lots of different metaphors that are used. I'll give you a few, see what works for you. One of the metaphors is one sun shining its rays into lots of different vessels on the ground. And depending on the different shape and size and color of the vessel, you're going to get a slightly different reflection. So the reflection of the sun in a vessel that is, say, blue and glass and vertical is going to look different than the reflection of the sun in a vessel that is flat and clay. The reflection of the sun in a vessel filled with water is going to look different than the reflection of the sun in a vessel filled with mud. But there's only one sun. Even though we may see it in 1,000,000 different vessels, or 7.5 billion different vessels, however many different vessels we lay out, we're going to have that many different reflections of the sun. But there's only one sun. That's one way of thinking about soul. In all of our different bodies, that soul is reflected differently, manifests differently. But there's really only one, and each of us is just a reflection of that divine. Another way of thinking about it is waves on the ocean. And so there's only one ocean. Imagine a world in which there were no continents, there were no land masses, there was nothing but ocean, infinite ocean. Now upon that ocean, waves come. Waveforms come. And yet, even in that wave form, it's ultimately still ocean. The wave is just a temporary blip, an intersection of time and space, a form. But the truth of that, regardless of whether it's in the form of a flat ocean or the form of a wave, the truth is still ocean. Even if it's a 30-foot tsunami. If you take a spoonful of water from a 30-foot tsunami and you look at it under a microscope slide, the scientist is going to say, ocean. At the core, it's ocean. It's all ocean. In the same way, each of us is like a different wave form. So in this intersection of time and space, yeah, it exists. It's not that we are an illusion. It's not that we don't actually exist. That we're somehow a visual illusion or mirage. Not that. But it's that our highest truth isn't wave. Our highest truth is ocean. So our highest truth is not this individual body, this individual life, this individual drama, this individual story. Our highest truth is soul, divinity, consciousness, love, truth, whatever word you use for it. And so you can think about your individual soul, that's okay. But also make sure you remember that ultimately your highest truth is not this individual experience, whether your body experience or your soul experience. But your highest truth is actually that awareness that you are one. There is no place you end and the world begins. There's no place you end and God begins. That is who you are. That is your highest truth. So that's the journey that we take our minds on. And we get distracted and then we bring it back. We get distracted, we bring it back. But ultimately that's the highest truth. Can you experience that? That place of soul that just is. No beginning, no end. Like a wave of an infinite ocean. Sometimes a tsunami, sometimes a ripple, sometimes flat. Because if you realize the ocean's infinite, by the time infinity is over, eternity is over, you will have been everything. You'll have been a drop, you'll have been a tsunami, you'll have been a wave crashing at shore, you'll have been surfed on, you'll have had every possible experience of a wave in the ocean. If it goes on for eternity. Until you realize that actually that experience just is. Just as ocean, just as divinity, just as God. And right now in this intersection of time and space, you're having this particular experience, which is beautiful, wonderful. Just because it's not the highest truth of who you are doesn't mean that it isn't really beautiful, really wonderful. Enjoy it, love it, use it. But remember, it isn't who you are. It isn't the highest truth of who you are. So don't get lost in it. Love it. But love it with the awareness that it's a drama. It's a temporary wave on the ocean. You like to surf? No problem, surf. But remembering, it's just a moment. It's just a blip. Before taking any of the other questions that have come in advance, are there any questions that anyone here has? Yes, Elise.
Is it possible to be a very wealthy human being and spiritual and humble at the same time? And if so, for people that are judgmental or cynical or negative towards someone like that, how perhaps could they adjust their thinking?
Okay, great. So she's asked, is it possible to be very successful, very wealthy, and also very spiritual and humble? Can those different things go together? And if so, then what to do if someone is either you or someone else, presumably you, because we try to just talk about ourselves in here. It's not a place of how do I get this one to behave. How do you let go of judgment toward people like that? So it's a two-part question. First of all, it's absolutely possible. Absolutely possible. There's a great story of two monks, an older monk and a younger monk, who are walking through the forest. And they come to a river, and on the edge of a river is this beautiful young damsel in distress. And she says, "Oh, can either of you help me across this river?" And the younger monk is like, "No, no, 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 no." And the older monk picks her up in his arms and carries her across the entire river and sets her down safely on the other side. And much, much later that day, that took place in the morning, much later that day, finally the younger monk says, okay, I can't take it anymore. I've got to tell you, I'm so upset about what you did this morning. We are celibates. We are renunciants. We've taken vows of not being intimate with women. And you took this beautiful woman, you held her in your arms against your chest, you carried her across this river. How is that possible? And the older monk says, I only carried her in my arms. You've carried her in your mind and your heart. And my arms set her down this morning. But you've carried her in your mind and in your heart all day long. Now, I share that story even though it's not exactly the same situation, because it has the key to it. It's not the object, whether the object is money, whether the object is a house, whether the object is a woman you're carrying across the river. It's not that makes us unspiritual. It's our relationship to it. And so if the monk were carrying her across and having all sorts of, romantic and sensual yearnings, well then, yeah, sure, that's absolutely a violation of his vows. But if he's carrying her across as her father, as her brother, as her son, then it's very pure. In the same way, if my mind is focused on money, that's what I need to be happy. There is something lesser about me because I don't have enough. There is an internal lack in me because I don't have enough. Therefore, I want to have more. That is going to pull me away from spirituality, regardless of whether I even get my head above middle class. So it actually has nothing to do with how much I make and everything to do with what's going on in my mind. A very poor person could actually be deeply unspiritual because their mind is so focused on getting money. Now, if they're so poor that they need it actually to feed their families, that's different. That's doing their dharma. That's their duty. They have to feed their families. But for most people whose minds are constantly obsessed with more and more, they're not people who need the money to put the food on the table. They're not people who are worried that winter's coming and their kids won't have sweaters. They're people for whom there's an emotional, psychological experience of not enough. The culture makes it worse, of course, because the culture, through marketing, through advertising, is always telling us your happiness, your fulfillment, your peace is going to come in what I'm selling you. I mean, this is how advertisements are. If you actually look at any ad, you'll realize they never actually sell what they're selling. Choose any advertisement, a TV commercial, an ad in a newspaper, in a magazine. They're never really about what they're selling. They're always about happiness. So I want to sell you a dishwasher. I'm going to show you a picture of a happy family, and this beautiful wife and her beautiful husband and their beautiful kids are all loading the dishwasher together, and and miraculously the glasses are already clean even though they're putting them into the dishwasher, like somehow they're pre-clean glasses, no grime, no mess. And here they are loading the dishwasher together. I'm not selling you clean dishes. I'm selling you a happy family. If I want to sell you a car, how am I going to sell it? Typically only one of two ways. Either freedom, and that's the one person in the car driving off into the sunset, nothing but open highway in front of them, this beautiful land. So that's the, do you feel stuck in your life? Get a Toyota. Right? Like if only you had this Toyota, you too would not be stuck in your life. You would be driving off into the horizon in a land as far as the eye can see. Or, again, we sell happiness. And so, happy husband and wife in the front seat, happy kids in the back seat. And you think, my God, my kids try to strangle each other in the back seat of the car. Maybe if I buy this car, my kids are going to play nice, like the kids in the commercial. So I mention that because it's not all our fault that we move through the world constantly wanting more. We are being constantly inundated with propaganda and marketing to make us believe all the time, A, that we don't have enough, and B, that what that person is trying to sell is the answer to our frustration, to our boredom, to our depression, to our misery that we didn't even know we had, but we certainly have after we see the advertisement. But in order to buy all those things, you need a lot of money. So naturally, I need more money. That sense of I don't have enough, I need more, is the fastest derailer on a spiritual path. And whether it's money, whether it's time, whether it's love, whether it's opportunity, whatever it may be, that sense of something is lacking in my life. There is one thing standing between me and happiness. That's going to derail me from my spiritual path, because spiritual connection says, my cup runneth over. Purnamada. We are poured and we are full, we are whole, we are complete. The moment is perfect. So any other thought is going to derail me. Now, that's true whether I'm middle class or super wealthy. There are lots of people who are super wealthy who still don't think they have enough. Those are going to be the people not spiritual. But then there's other people who maybe they inherited a bunch of money, maybe they got lucky, maybe they happen to really love a job or an innovation that happened for whatever reason to be fantastically successful. You know, a bunch of really smart young people a couple decades ago with the tech boom. Okay, they loved what they were doing. Young kids, working out of garages, and now they're multi-billionaires. But it's not about the money. It's about the mindset. It's the mindset that makes us unspiritual. So you could be one of those or one of anybody who happens to have lots of money, but who's also deeply, deeply spiritual. And again, you could be much lower along the ranks of financial prosperity and be deeply unspiritual because your mind is always focused on money. It's like that other story of the two friends who one night, one of them says, I'm going to go to a brothel tonight. And the other guy says, oh my God, I can't believe you said that. You are a sinner. You are a horrible man. I'm going to go to the mandir. I'm going to the temple tonight. And one goes off to the brothel and the other goes to the mandir. And the guy in the mandir the whole time is thinking, oh my God, he's in the brothel. I wonder what he's doing now. I can't believe that guy's in the brothel. And his whole mind that whole night is all focused on the friend in the brothel. The guy in the brothel is thinking, Oh, I wish I had gone with my friend to the temple. He must be doing such beautiful prayers and puja. I wish I were in the temple with him. They come back together. Tragically, there's a natural disaster. They both die. The guy who goes to the brothel ends up in heaven. The guy who went to the temple ends up in hell. And they say to God, well, not the one who went to the brothel who goes to heaven, of course, he's happy. But the one who went to the temple, he says to God, how is this possible? I was in the temple. The night before I died, I was in the temple. This guy was in the brothel. I should be in heaven. He should be in hell. And God says, it's about where your mind is. Sure, your body was in the temple, but your mind was in the brothel all night. His body was in the brothel, but his mind was in the temple all night. So that's what's most important. And we have a beautiful teaching of that in the scriptures, because Lanka, where Ravan came from, the city he was king over, the demon Ravan, was made of gold. It was a city made of gold. Dwarka, the city that Krishna was king of, also a city made of gold. Two cities of gold, one hell, because it's being run by a demon. The other, heaven, because it's being run by Krishna. So clearly the gold is not the determining factor. Clearly the determining factor between the heaven and the hell, the Dwarka and the Lanka, is who's running the show. So regardless of what we have, the question to ourselves is, who's running my show? Is it the demon who's full of greed and lust, anger, jealousy? Or is it the divine? So if you find that you're having judgment against people who, for any reason, not just in this case, who have money, but any sort of negative judgment about people, it's a beautiful opportunity to look within and to say, what is it in me that this is triggering? Because here's the thing, there's a lot of annoying people in the world. There's a lot of annoying behaviors and habits that people have in the world. We find them every day. Walk down the street for 10 minutes and inevitably you will pass by all sorts of people with all sorts of random annoying habits. This one walks too slowly. This one walks in the middle of the road, doesn't understand how to stay on his side. This one brakes on a yellow light. This one, whatever it may be. All sorts of behaviors that we may find really annoying. One smoking a cigarette and blowing the smoke in your face. Another one's talking too loudly on their phones. But we pass by without being impacted by them. We don't find ourselves finally getting to where we're going for lunch and saying, oh, I cannot eat. That guy was driving too slow. This one stopped at a yellow light. Don't they know it means go? This one was blowing a smoke in my face. This one was chewing gum too loudly. It doesn't even faze us. It's a tiny blip on our awareness for a split second. The only things that actually hang around long enough for us really to pass judgment on them are things that are triggering something in us. And so if you find yourself really judging something in another, this one is just so selfish, I cannot stand it. And it bothers you and it eats at you. It's a beautiful opportunity to say, what am I struggling with inside me? And it could be one of two things. If we take my selfish example, let's say somebody's selfish and I've got lots of judgment about that. Like really the type of judgment that keeps me awake at night and makes me not want to eat my food, makes me not want to be around that person. One possibility is I'm actually very selfish, but I don't want to look at it because it's too hard for my ego to look at it. And so I'm hiding away from my own selfishness by projecting that onto another person and judging them for it. And the flip possibility is I'm one of those people who, in order to feel okay about myself, absolutely ignores myself and only does for others. And there's actually something about the selfishness of that person that I wish I had. That I wish that on some level I too could make choices that were good for me. But that thought is so abhorrent to me because I feel like my only value as a being is that which I'm doing for other people. And to think about myself is selfish. And so I can't even allow myself to have that thought. And so I judge and I hate that person for embodying something that actually has a tiny little bit of something that I wish I could have. You see it also for laziness. Oh, that guy is just so lazy, I can't stand it. Well, again, am I actually really lazy? But I'm not looking at it? Or flip side, am I one of those gotta keep doing because only then am I a valuable being on earth. Only then am I entitled to occupy my space and take my breaths. And when I see somebody just sitting back with their feet up, it arouses in me such envy. But I can't call it envy because in my mind, laziness is such a horrible sin. And so I just hate that person. And so I'm always in favor of insight. When something pushes your buttons a lot, use it for insight. What is it? What is it in me? Because people will come and go in your lives, especially the annoying ones. I mean, they're not going to be people, chances are, that you marry or settle down with. And so it's a temporary colleague or a neighbor or, somebody in the community or whatever it may be. They'll come and they'll go. But use that as an opportunity to really learn more about yourself and free yourself from these habits. Yeah. Wonderful. Have a beautiful, beautiful rest of your evening, everyone. And we'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow.